Hello, everyone. What's going on? This is the Noah Gillian Show, and I, of course, am your host, Noah Gillian. So happy you decided to join in today. Joining me on the show today is longtime contributor and our resident Giants reporter for the podcast. We had to have him on this week, especially Nick Jackson. What's going on, Nick?
How are you? I'm doing great, man. I don't know. The listeners don't know about my recent hot streak in our friendship. Um, but between claiming my first fantasy championship, just gonna
Yep.
put it out there for everyone, and then also the New York Football Giants, who I thought were going to win 5 games, and now it's a big Saturday. It's a big Saturday.
Yeah, having them playing on divisional weekend, I'm sure that was a welcome sight.
We've redeemed ourselves from the Miami trip, man. It's time.
We love it. We love it. So it is going to be the 20th of January when you guys are listening to this. And we're going to go over, obviously, the Eagles Giants game in the divisional matchup of the NFL playoffs. We're going to look at the rest of the divisional games as well, touch on them a little bit. And then we have a lot of NFL news coming out. Obviously, all but 8 teams have had their seasons concluded. So a lot of moves have been happening. So we'll talk about a couple things and then we'll wrap it up. So let's just get right into it. Also, if you want to find us on Twitter, Instagram, you can find the show's account, Nick's accounts, my accounts in the description below. And then, yeah, if you want to give us a follow, would appreciate it. So check us out down there. So let's get into it, starting off with, of course, the matchup of the weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Football Giants. This will be the third time they're playing, but really it'll be like the second time after that Week 18 matchup. That was, let's
A
just say
resemblance of the team.
it was tough to watch. But
Yeah.
everyone got what they wanted out of it. So it was all good there. So Nick, I got a couple key points that I want to run by you in this matchup that I think are pretty much going to determine the success of each
hmm
of each team. So let me start off with number one, which I think you're going to agree with. It is going to be Wink, the defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale for the Cowboys versus Shane Steichen and Nick
My
Sirianni.
guy.
Talk to me about Wink real quick and specifically what he did against the Vikings and then what you think they'll be able to do this week.
He does what he does, man. We're gonna man up and he's gonna blitz. Guys are coming, and it's just gonna be what it is. It was great to see guys that we believe in. I mean, Adoree Jackson's by no means top corner in the league, but he played great against Justin Jefferson last week. Like our guys manned up and played well. But that's what it is with Wink, man. He's coming. He's gonna maybe be a little modest in the first quarter, but on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, there's going to be 7 guys, 6, 7 guys coming. It's just how he gets down. And I love it. It's aggressive football, man.
Yeah,
And
it's
they,
how you got to play though.
yeah. And especially in the red zone, it sticks up for us all the time where we get out with 3 a lot of times where people should be scoring touchdowns. And yeah, Wink has been a huge part of this team. Pretty
Yeah,
much a
bend
game
don't
changer.
break, and that's how you survive and advance in the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
especially. Yeah, Dory Jackson, kind of a come up man. Picked him up
What
from
an
free
incredible
agency,
week.
or it was a trade when you guys
No, we
got
signed him last offseason,
yeah, just as a
and
free agent though, right?
yeah, he didn't have a great year last year. Then he's been hurt all this year. This not his first game back.
That
He
was his first game back. Was the playoff
hasn't
game?
he hasn't played in like 7 weeks now,
That's
and
crazy.
my man went and matched up with Justin Jefferson. I think pretty much 60-70% of the snaps. He did great. It was a
Wow.
great show.
Yeah, that's awesome. What former first round pick, right? Of the Titans?
Titans. Yep.
Okay, yeah, great player at USC. So definitely, yeah, I think that's going to be huge matchup. Obviously, Lane Johnson is off the injury report as of today, so he should be healthy, ready to go for the game. Still nervous that he's dealing with a major injury, so we'll see kind of how that goes. But I think that's honestly going to be a huge pickup for the Birds. If he was unable to go, he outside of Jalen Hurts is probably the most valuable player on the Eagles team. And when he's out,
1,000% agree.
it's just like the record is and even you saw this with any quarterback that's been on the Eagles team that Lane Johnson's been here, whether it was Carson Wentz, whether it was, Nick Foles, even when he was doing his thing and all that stuff. I mean, Lane's been here a long time. Any quarterback that hasn't had Lane out there has been really struggling. So he's going to be back. Whole offensive line in general should be healthy. So that is just going to be an absolutely great matchup. I keep forgetting the Giants have Jalen Smith a dog linebacker with the
Who's been
Cowboys.
very
Kind of
good.
fell on some bad luck the last couple of years, but he's been playing great this year. And I'm interested to see that. I'm really excited for that.
It's a fun defense. Like there's very few guys that you would consider like top tier NFL players. I think Thibodeau could be one day.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
But
Thibodeau is one that is gonna scare
yeah,
me.
Dexter Lawrence is having a career year. Leonard's having a very, very good year for his standard. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jabril
Mm-hmm.
Peppers came off the street and he's making plays right now. Like I don't know what's going on. It's something happening. But it's a fun defense to watch. It's a fun team to watch right now, honestly.
Yeah, and the best part about it is there's gonna be no secrets up front. I mean, Jason
No.
Kelsey, Isaac Sayamalu, Leonard Williams. These guys have been battling against each other for years now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gonna be really really fun to watch. My number 2 point here: the Eagles wide receivers versus the Giants cornerbacks. I think that is
Makes
going
me
to
nervous.
it's going to be a really really big thing here because no disrespect to Adam Thielen, great player in his own right, but I think Devontae Smith is a much better receiver at this point in
At
time
this
than
point,
Adam Thielen,
absolutely.
and he, obviously we expect Adoree to match up with AJ, although if they're, I think I could see them, maybe splitting coverage 50-50 just with the way the Eagles kind of run their setups and everything. So I think that's going to be huge because I mean AJ is having a ridiculous year. Devontae is the most slept on or one of the most slept on wide receivers at least this
Mm-hmm.
season. So who's the other primary corner that you see is going to get like a lot of time? Do you think Adoree's just going to stick AJ and shadow him, or it's going to be kind of a team effort to contain everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I think Adoree's gonna draw AJ the majority of the game, and then on Devontae, you're gonna see guys like Fabian Moreau. You're gonna see guys like Julian Love. Um, McKinney's probably gonna get a little bit, even though he's a safety. Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a group, and that's why Wink is coming
Yeah.
because we can't cover for 4, 5, 6 seconds. We can't do it.
Yeah.
Devontae, I mean Dallas Goddard, like Watkins deep, like we can't cover for that long. You guys have a lot of weapons,
Yeah,
so that's
the
what it is.
Dallas being back. I kind of just forgot about it. I think he came back against
Maybe
New
2 weeks back.
Orleans or week
Yeah,
17, but he hasn't really been doing too much. The Eagles offense in general hasn't been doing too much over the last couple of weeks, or at least the end of the season. But yeah, that's going to be really interesting because like you said, even any quarterback now in the league outside of like Sauce Gardner and maybe one of the two other
yeah.
players, you can't just leave them out there and expect them to cover for 8, 9, 10, like
No,
regardless 5 seconds. So I think that's going to be really really interesting. The mobility of Hurts versus the blitz is going to be crucial. I don't know if
mm-hmm.
you follow Brian Baldinger on Twitter, one of my favorite follows on all of social media in general, but he always takes these videos, but he posted one about the Giants and Eagles matchup and just like the different stunts that Wink uses, like fake blitzes and all this stuff. Like everyone is going to have to be on their P's and Q's because he might send someone halfway and then they drop off into coverage. And then that little half second, it's just all about stealing those little half seconds. So
It's junk blitzes. They're junk blitzes for
mm-hmm.
sure.
And it's going to be hopefully the running backs are going to be crucial parts of the pass protection as always. And then, so that brings me to point number 3. Moving to the Giants offense now. We could talk about Saquon in a second. Obviously, he's going to be impossible to stop. But Daniel Jones' designed/undesigned runs, I think, is going to
Yeah,
be a crucial part of this game. Obviously, I think TJ Edwards earned himself a lot of money this year at the middle linebacker position. He's going to be a free agent. He's had one of the better tackling years of any Eagle linebacker. So he's going to have his work cut out for him. It seemed like in that game against the Vikings, the whole like first quarter, second quarter, maybe not the whole first, but there was a lot of scrambles early in that game. Like they didn't spy him. They didn't do any, like it was one read, two
nothing.
read out. And he was picking up first downs, not just like random quarterbacks scrambling out, getting 3 or 4 yards.
It
Like
was working so well, they started going QB power and stuff.
when they did the QB power with Saquon as the lead blocker,
yeah,
I was like, yeah.
I was like, all right, take it easy, guys. But yeah, it was working so well. I mean, yeah,
Now, I think that's going to be crucial because you got Saquon, obviously a beast. There's going to be, you can only really hope to contain him. But if he busts out a 50-yard run, 20, 28, 30, 35-yard run, like there's not much you can do about those. But you're going to have to be able to contain Daniel Jones in the pocket, make him a pocket quarterback. Obviously, the emergence of Isaiah Hodges, your boy Isaiah, he's
Love him.
proved to be a reliable option. Darius Slayton has, traditionally been a good deep threat, traditionally reliable hands outside of the one drop in fourth quarter.
Killing me.
And then you have, the best blocking wide receiver in the league apparently is Kenny Galladay out there making 72 mil. So we don't have to.
I mean, if you're looking for stars in the skill positions, you're not going to find it. Like I've turned myself into a Daniel Bellinger fan, and I never thought I'd ever say those words. Like
he's good.
But we have to say is, one, Danny just played the best game probably of his whole life, let alone his NFL career. It was quite a performance.
Yep.
Got to pay him. I hate to say it, but we got to pay him. I think that you do something kind of like a sexy Blake Bortles contract. Remember Blake Bortles got all that money, but they cut him like a year and a half later and it was all good.
Like the Taysom Hill contract they gave him, like for $100 million, but turns out
it's going to look like a lot of money. And then a year and a half from now, if he goes not so south, we probably like it's something that we can cut him. But you got to pay him now. I don't want to tag him. I don't want to do any of that. Just pay him.
It sounds. I feel like it's more realistic. You tag Saquon.
Tag Saquon. You pay the quarterback. That's exactly how I feel.
Yep. Were you say something else?
Yeah, but he's gonna have to make a lot of plays. I mean, in my mind, we're gonna have to score 35 points on Saturday if we want to win. Like it is what it is. The Eagles' offense, they're gonna score touchdowns. Wink is gonna have a lot to scheme, and he's probably gonna have a great plan. But the Eagles have been chilling for a week. They're fresh. They're gonna have a good game plan. Like they're gonna score points. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And Daniel's going to have to do his part. He's going to have to make some big plays.
He was slinging that thing, man. He was throwing it with confidence.
He's not turning the ball over right now.
That's the thing.
Awesome. It's been great.
That's the thing.
When you traditionally turn the ball over, God, it's so nervous. Like when you have such a great streak, I'm like, dang, I hope he doesn't turn into Danny again.
Yeah. That's going to be. Speaking of that, that's going to be a huge. That is going to decide game this week. I think there's going to be 1 to 2 turnovers in this game that are going to drastically swing the momentum. And that's every game. But you've seen pretty much all the Eagles obviously they lost to the Saints late in the year, but that was just an overall shit effort. But the games against the Commanders, against the Cowboys, they had 4+ turnovers in both of those games, shot themselves in the foot. Both games they should have won, mind you. So, and obviously the Giants have been ripping off wins, especially early in the year. I don't know exactly how their turnovers were later in the year, but that is going to be a huge, huge issue. That's been really the only thing that's been able to stop the Eagles offense, like you said. So I just think that is going to be a huge, huge issue. There's pass rushers hungry for the ball in this game. Obviously, Kevon Thibodeau on the Giants side, Hassan Reddick on the Eagles side. There's going to be guys gunning for that ball. So I think that's going to be another key point. Like that's going to could swing this whole game.
Yeah, and these are the best corners that Danny has seen. Like I know he didn't play in Week 18 when they played. They haven't seen him in a while. Like Darius Slayton probably should have been an all-pro cornerback. Like this is not a game that he's got to be aggressive, but you can't give away too much because our defense doesn't take the ball away a lot.
Yeah, that's true. And CJ Gardner-Johnson is back, or CJ.
Chauncey.
Is it Chauncey? That's what I thought. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back in the game. Obviously tied for the league leading interceptions this year. So another ball hawk on the back end of that defense. It's going to be interesting, man. I'm like, you said it right at the top of the show. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. And it's going to be interesting because that first game in the Meadowlands was,
you smacked us.
They got out to such a big lead that it was almost like, there's nothing you can take a lot from it because they got out to a big lead, but also like at a certain point, it was like, all right, let's just run the ball. Let's just keep it going. And then the Week 18 So I'm gonna be glued to my screen, obviously. Let me get a score prediction if you have one, slash if you have any other key points that you want to throw in here, feel free to if you got any other X factors or anything you were thinking. If not, let me get a score prediction.
Yeah, so I probably the fan in me wants to take the Giants, but it feels irresponsible. So here's what I will give you. Here's what I will give you. 7.5 is too many points. I told this to you before. Beating us 3 times, it would kill me. If everyone comes out the game unscathed, we have a healthy offense, healthy defense, this game is going to be a one touchdown game. And it probably is going to have a decent amount of points in it. But I just I don't see us losing by 2 scores. It would really hurt for the for it to end like that,
Yeah.
just because they've built this level of belief in the fan base. Like we really
Mm-hmm.
do think that they can compete in this game. And I'll be honest with you, if we win it, I'd be happy and I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked. Like it wouldn't like my
Yeah.
mind wouldn't be blown. Like I definitely think that there is a scenario that the Giants can win this game.
They made it to this
Um,
round. They deserve to be
yeah,
here. You know what
yeah.
I mean?
So I can't give you score prediction, but I will say
Okay.
7.5 is too many points. It'll
Uh,
be a closer game than that.
Okay. So what I initially had here was Eagles 34, Giants 27. And just on principle, because we made a little wager on the 7.5, I changed it to Giants 24, Eagles 34. But here's what I will say. I think it's going to be around that score. The Giants are going to have the ball. It's going to be a 10-point game, and they're going to have a decision. Do we kick the field goal and hit the onside kick, or do we go for the touchdown and then see if we can get onside kick and get the ball back? And I think in my heart of hearts that Brian Dable is going to be aggressive. Let's score the touchdown. Let's go after it.
And he
And
should.
he should. And that could potentially lead to a fourth down turnover. But they're going to, it's going to be important minutes in the fourth quarter. I don't want anyone to, like, I feel like when a lot, and this was me included, I don't want to, exclude myself from this. When we got the Giants, the best case scenario, honestly, out of what you're looking at, because we would have either had the Cowboys who, say what you want about the Cowboys in the playoffs, but they're one of the best teams in the league this year, at least.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vikings, I wouldn't have been that upset with the Vikings because I think they're personally,
I
obviously,
wanted the Vikings. So
they're a little bit overrated, and the Eagles already beat them this year. But you get a divisional opponent, you see them. So I was a little bit excited about that. I do think Jalen Hurts is really going to be able to let it rip in this game. Like, I cannot wait to see him regain form and be that guy, because it was kind of like a tease to see him in week 18 and he really like didn't do anything. He threw the ball down the field a couple of times and I was like, there he is. But then there were so many plays where he just kind of, took the knee, went down, and just kind of cut it off. So I can't wait to see this game. I'm so excited. Like I said, I think it's going to be close. I think the Eagles are going to put up over 30 points. The Giants aren't going to just get way behind. They're going to score some points too, but I do think it's going to be a 10. I think it's going to be a 2-possession game midway through the fourth, and there's going to be a play or two that is going to swing it from either they're going to score and it's going to be a 1 touchdown nail biting game, or it could swing the other way and it could be in that area. So I think that's where we got to kind of look for. I got the official score 34-24 to cover the 7.5. I didn't see what the over under was, but I think that probably is going to fly over. So we'll see. Like we said, we're both excited for this game. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, anytime these teams get together, especially in the playoffs, it's a good time. But that is only one of the 4 games this weekend. There is a lot of really, really good matchups this weekend. Let's just stay in the NFC real quick, because I know you got a pretty interesting take on this next game. I think the Niners are going to absolutely win this game and could potentially win by over a touchdown. But you think the Cowboys are gonna get this one done?
I do. I really do. And I'm a long time, even though I love my Giants, a little black-owned business. I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I think Dak is definitely disrespected at times. He hasn't had the best season, but like another one in our friendship, that performance on Monday night was all the validation I need. In the third quarter, I was like, you know what? And I
He looked
don't
good.
think
He looked really good.
he looked really good. I don't think that they would match up great with the Eagles, and don't want to look past this week. But I think this week, might be a perfect storm for the Cowboys.
See, like my whole thing is like, what don't you like about the Niners? I feel like there's so many positives to take away from it. Like all these people are putting them in the Super Bowl already, like getting past everybody. So I'm just like, I don't know.
I mean, I wouldn't pick the Niners over the Eagles either. I think that it's
Appreciate that.
1 week. It's a one game, 1 week. Um, I like. I think the Niners overall, their whole roster is so talented. It's ridiculous.
It's
When you go
crazy.
down,
It's
when you go
crazy.
through the names, it's crazy. Um, but there's some good. There's some real playmakers from Dallas's team,
Oh,
and
100%.
I think that it's close. Like it would be a close game, and I like their quarterback more. Um,
Yeah,
I,
I mean, that's fair. That's totally
I
fair.
think that he can make some big plays. I think that he's kind of been waiting for. This is an opportunity that a lot of guys on that team have been waiting for. Um, I feel good about the Cowboys this week. I really do,
Okay.
and I feel weird even saying that, but I do.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the aisle just because of just the playmaking option. And I just don't know if the Dallas defense is going to be able to hold up. I guess my take is I think Dallas will probably score, you know, anywhere from 24 to 28 points. But I just feel like I don't know. I handicap it like a similar way. I just feel like the Niners, like, yeah, Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the NFL. Like Trayvon Diggs, say what you want about him. He's a good cornerback. And
Mm-hmm.
then, but they don't like they're down two strings at their other cornerback. Their second guy's gone. The third guy just got hurt last week, I think, or the week, but no, I think it was last week. He got hurt like at the end of the game. So they're gonna have some issues guarding Brandon Ayuk, even if they match up with Samuel. But like the whole thing is like maybe they play more zone, but they just have so many playmakers. And I'll be the first to say it. I wasn't like, everyone's like, oh, Brock Purdy's this and Brock Purdy's that. Like, I'm kind of like, I don't really know what to make of the kid yet because he's on the
No clue.
probably one of the two or three most talented rosters in the NFL. And he's got Christian McCaffrey, he's got Tebow Samuel, George Kittle. Like these guys are all pro level players. But he's making things happen. I don't know what to say
No,
about the
he
kid.
is making some good, like some really good throws. Like he is.
Yeah, and he's getting out of the pocket. He's doing other kinds of things like that. So, and the other thing is too, like the offensive line is great. Trent Williams might be the best player in the NFL, like at the left
Yeah,
tackle
Hall of Fame
position.
Trent
Like,
Williams. He's a dog.
so that's why it's just such an interesting game for me because, like, I think San Fran has it on defense too, and if they run Jason Peters out there again at left tackle, sign Nick Bosa up for 4 quarters against Jason Peters, like, oh my God. And then like you said, they find an all-pro safety on the back end. I don't even know what his name is. He makes an all-pro team at the safety position. And it's like, they still got Fred Warner at the middle linebacker spot. Like, I just think I don't know. I think it's just going to end up being the talent of San Fran might just overwhelm how good Dak might be over Brock Purdy, if that makes sense. Like, I think
You think
I
it's
think,
going to be a big win? They're going to win by a lot.
I just like, I don't think, you know what, you're right. It's going to come down to Dak because I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. Like, I just don't know. Zeke is going to have 12 carries for 26 yards, maybe a touchdown if they get to the one. And Tony Pollard will have like 8 to 10 carries for like 40, 50. If he breaks one, I guess that's a lot of yards, but that's only 60 as a team. But like if he breaks one, then yeah, but I just don't see them running it. So if Dak can really sit back there and throw, then then I think they're going to keep close. I just don't. My whole thing is I just don't see how they're going to stop San Fran, and I guess that's what it comes down to. Like I don't see
I
them.
think they take the ball away a
Okay,
couple times. I
and
mean,
that's what Purdy's been doing. He's been taking care of the ball, like you said. So I'm almost like yeah, but then again, he's not like fumbling. He's not turning it over. He's not putting it in harm's way. So I'm not putting my money on McCaffrey to fumble or like Debo to fumble. They could, but maybe if one of those guys goes down, obviously all relatively injury prone guys, that's going to change the balance sheet of what we're looking at here. But, I just kind of think it's looking like the line's moving closer to the Niners. It's looking like it's going to settle maybe around -4 for San Francisco. So do I love 4?
I would
No.
hammer +4.
I
Love it.
love 3, but it's already moving away. So I think that's really going to be a really, really interesting matchup. It's going to be the last one of the weekend. So that'll be a lot of fun. to get there. Switching over to the AFC side, we'll start with the Chiefs first, and then we'll get to the other matchup after that. Chiefs and Jaguars. A ridiculous comeback from Dougie P and the Jags in the wild card round against the Chargers. First of all,
And
let me
they
get
get
your just
rewarded
take
with
on
the
that.
king.
Like, what did you think about that Jags Chargers game in general?
Crazy game. Such a fun watch. I mean, when you go into the halftime, you watch it because it's the game that's on. Like, it's definitely you're not loving what you're seeing. But I heard a stat today that I thought was so crazy, and it was actually a pretty cool stat. After every one of those interceptions, the first play back, Doug Peterson threw a pass. He was like, "We're gonna keep letting Trevor do his thing,"
Yeah,
um, and the defense held up. I don't know how. I feel like I'm the only person blaming the Chargers offense a little bit that they didn't score at all in the second half, where they had 3 points. Like, people were getting on the Chargers defense, which I don't know how you're even that mad at the defense. They got you up 27-0. They took the ball away 3 times on the other side, on the opponent's side of the field. I'm
yeah.
not really sure what more you can ask.
They couldn't get anything going outside of that.
Could get? I mean, I get it. Giving up 30 points or whatever it was, respectively, in the second half. The Chargers defense wasn't great, but you give them such a cushion.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert scores 1 touchdown in the second half, they win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just so
Mm-hmm.
different. But I think it's crazy, that huge comeback to get rewarded with the king. It's unfortunate for them, man.
Yeah, that
they
is a
played so
tough.
hard and they get rewarded with the king. It sucks.
Yeah, that's a tough come around. I was sitting with even the people that I was with last weekend, and they scored a touchdown right before halftime, and we kind of looked at each other and we're like, that was a big score, going down 27-7 instead of 27-0. Like, that's a pretty big a big, changeover
Mm-hmm.
right there. So I thought that was awesome, but it was a great game. Trevor Lawrence is finally stepping up. I love seeing that. Obviously he had a terrible year last year, but we'll chalk that up to Urban Meyer. And then, like you said, he gets the king. He's got to go into Arrowhead, up to his home, and face Patrick Mahomes. A lot of hate on Mahomes coming into the year and what their offense could be. But
I don't get it.
yeah, I don't get
it.
it because he absolutely dominated. More than likely, but more than that, he's probably going to win the MVP of the
He's
league
the
this year. Yeah,
he is
he,
the MVP.
he's going to win the MVP, first team All Pro quarterback. That pretty much guarantees you the slot outside of Adrian Peterson. So a great game. Jags are 8.5 point underdogs, highest over under of any game this weekend though. So that's going to be really fun to watch. They've held their own in Arrowhead earlier this season. I think it was week 10, maybe. They went down to Arrowhead and were competitive. It
Yeah.
was fine. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really expecting too much out of Trevor and the Jags, but maybe that'll be a good thing for them. Going in
Mm-hmm.
there with house money and seeing what they can do, right?
Yeah, I'm giving them essentially no chance to win this game. just no chance. There's no way. Like, Pat, I mean, when you think about, I don't know how many in a row this is. I feel like Pat is in the AFC Championship every year, like clockwork. This is his 6th year in the league. He didn't play his rookie year really at all. But I can't say the last time he wasn't in the AFC Championship. Like, it's kind of what he does.
2017 or 2018 when Tom went in there, or was that the AFC Championship game?
I'm
With
pretty
the
sure there's an AFC
Yeah,
Championship.
I actually think you're right.
Like, I'm pretty sure they were in the AFC Championship that year. So, I mean,
Yeah,
and I don't even think the Chiefs' defense is great, but you guys score a lot of points to hand. Like, they're gonna run it up on them a little bit, I think.
yeah, I agree. I think they want to send a message. I think they've been hearing about the Bills all year. They've been hearing about the Bengals. And speaking of those two teams, obviously we both think the Chiefs are going to win, so not too much to talk about there. But this matchup, I've been anxious to hear who you got because it is flying. The line is flying towards the Bills. I think it opened at 4.5. It's already up to 5.5 in the Bills' favor. Give me the Bengals all day. I'll take them and the
Yes. What are
number.
we?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
are we talking about?
Wow.
Like I know it's
What a
in
number.
Buffalo, but like, did we not watch the last round? Did we not watch Skylar Thompson just drop 31 on the Bills defense? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't get it. When you're telling me the line moving, I'm like, wow, that's huge. Like, I would take that number any day. Like, I
Might even
love the
take them on the
Bengals in
money
this game.
line, man. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like the Bengals team a little bit better. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. I mean, obviously Josh Allen, stud, their whole offense in general, Stephon Diggs, like they have. I love I forget where I heard it, but the analogy, like they're a boxer with a big knockout punch, like it just fits them so perfectly because they could just come out and drop 40 on anybody, and
Mm.
that's more than enough to win most games. But their defense has been bleeding points. Like we said, Miami goes in there in Buffalo and drops 31. Like I'm their divisional team, whatever the case may be. They almost beat them, a couple times this year, but like, or they did beat them at least once this year
Yeah.
at home. So I don't know. I'm like Joey I guess they're looking at last week and they saw the Bengals only put up 24 on the Ravens, but it is the Ravens. Like they have a good defense. They're a divisional opponent. Like
Mm-hmm.
no, like they're just not like I think Joe Burrow is going to be ready to go. I don't know what they're worried about. Jamar T, like how are they stopping this whole offense? Joe Mixon's going to be able to run on them. Granted, they are down some offensive linemen, which is an issue, but they went to the Super Bowl last year
Super Bowl
without
with no line.
none, no, none whatsoever. So like that's my whole take on this game is I see the Bengals going in there. I honestly like I've been on the Bills all year. I think they have like a great story going with them, obviously with DeMar Hamlin. Great news that he's doing a lot better. I think he's going to be at the game, so it's going to be absolutely electric in there. I think he was at the last game too. But I don't know. I don't see Joe Burrow going in there and losing
No, I
until
don't
like,
either.
and that's the whole thing. Like Josh Allen is kind of anointed as this guy, but he's also never been out of the divisional round. So like,
Which is why I do not like the comparisons when people talk about him and Patrick Mahomes, man.
yeah,
Like Patrick Mahomes is on his own level of this thing right now. I think Josh Allen and Joe Burrow are closer grouped than
right,
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Like Patrick Mahomes is 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards a year. Book
right,
it right now.
and less than 7 interceptions every year. You know what I mean? Like Josh Allen turns that ball over too. Like let's not forget,
Yeah.
like that could be an issue. I think he fumbled 3 times and had 2 picks. Only lost one of the fumbles in this game against the Dolphins, but still, you're putting ball in harm's way 5 times in a playoff game. Like
No
you
way.
saw you saw the stats with
Five
the
and out.
Jaguars. Like when a team turns the ball over 4+ times, like I'm pretty sure they had only won one game out of like 90. So like you can't do that. And I think Joe Burrow doesn't turn the ball over. I don't know. I just feel like the Bengals, I feel like they're going to be ready to go. I just feel like they're going
They
to win
are.
this game and go into Arrowhead and set up a rematch of last year. If that happens, we both seem to be on the same side of the AFC. What do you make of that game? Obviously, Cincinnati goes into Arrowhead last year and beats the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what
They
do you
go
what
in and they beat him again this year. Was it in Arrowhead this year when they beat him, or was it in
It was in
okay,
Cincinnati. That was
was
in
in
Cincy.
Cincinnati?
And they beat him
Yeah.
again. You're right. I totally forgot
Mm-hmm.
about that game.
They, yeah, but I'm rolling
I'm
Pat.
taking the Chiefs too.
I'm rolling Pat. Like you can say what you want. I'll go with Pat. Like
Yeah.
he's the king, man. As of right now, like if I think that the teams in talent are close, which I mean, skill positions, the Bengals players are better, but if you're looking at the overall team talent, it's probably about equal. And like I think it takes so much to beat Patrick Mahomes right now. I don't. His all-time record in the NFL is insane. I don't know if
It's
you ever looked at it.
ridiculous. It's
He's like
ridiculous.
60-14 or something like that in the NFL. Like the dude is ridiculous.
You're gonna have to put up 38 plus to beat him, and I just don't
Yeah,
know if they do.
or 30. Yeah, you're gonna have to score points, and I think that he's hungry. He's not happy about losing to them twice. And I think if you ask the Bengals, they wouldn't be looking forward to seeing him. Like of all the teams left, that's on both conferences. If you ask any of them, the one team they don't want to see, I bet it's probably not Patrick Mahomes.
And the one team that,
Eagles,
yeah,
Eagles, yeah, close. Maybe also the Eagles, but those two teams, Pat is
and the
what he
one
brings.
team
It's
and the
so
one
much.
team the Chiefs want are the Bengals too. That's
They
the
want
best part about
them.
it. Like they
They
want
want.
them.
And I
That's
don't think that they're gonna have this hard game this week. That's gonna like wear them out or guys are
oh
gonna
the
play. I think
Chiefs
that
wise,
the
yeah,
Chiefs, yeah, like the Chiefs are gonna have a game that they should win pretty easily,
mm,
and they're gonna look ahead. Like this, but it would be great any matchup we get
yeah,
if the Chiefs, as long as the Chiefs win this week. If they get the Bengals or the Bills in a
yeah,
neutral site, which would be crazy, like the AFC is primed for a great matchup in the AFC Championship.
yeah. That's gonna be a tough one. I don't know if I love that, but I guess obviously they didn't play as many games as everybody else, so it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
equate.
don't
But
love it, but I get it.
yeah,
But
I'm
if
the
they put it
exact.
like you see the rumors of the stadiums, like if they put it at Lambeau, like what are we doing? Like no,
It's
don't
got
do
to
that.
just it's what
It's
in
got to
Atlanta.
be yeah. I mean that would be everyone wins in that case. Put it
I
somewhere
think it
warm
is
or
in
put
I think it
somewhere
is
in
in
a dome.
Atlanta.
Oh, that's amazing. Please give me that because there's no weather. That's going to be just football. Yeah,
Up
I'd
and
love
down.
that.
That's a track meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. But yeah, so those games should be a lot of fun. I'm really, really excited for this whole weekend. I'm excited for the rest of the playoffs. It's gonna be great games. I can't wait. And then all of them should be on Sunday next week, or the last two should be on Sunday next week, um, for the NFC and the AFC chip. So that's gonna be awesome. But that is going to just kind of wrap up our takes on the divisional matchup. And then I did want to get into some NFL news because there's been some pretty big there's been some pretty big things that have happened that could lead to some other key news. And the first thing I wanted to bring up was Greg Roman out as the Ravens offensive coordinator. And that
Thank goodness for them.
directly leads me to my next question. Where does Lamar play next season? The offseason of Lamar. Is he back in Baltimore next year? Or is he going somewhere else?
I want to say back in Baltimore because I just can't imagine where else he would go.
Let
Um,
me throw some names at you then. Atlanta. Okay. I honestly
I
that
kind
was
of
my
like
least
that.
likely. That was my least likely one. All right, New York Jets or Giants. You could throw them in there too if they want to get involved. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
That might be a
I hope the
different
Giants
question. The
get
Giants.
involved, but if the Jets get their hands on him, that's crazy. That's huge. Um, and
Yeah.
the only thing about Lamar Jackson is I think that he's like talent wise at the quarterback, he's a very, very talented quarterback. I think that people disrespect him all the time.
Yeah.
But you do have to play a certain kind of way when he's your quarterback. Like you're gonna have to run an offense made for a Lamar Jackson style.
Mm-hmm.
So teams gotta whoever inquires about him has to have the necessary things in place for that. But I think Greg Roman losing his job makes Baltimore a little more attractive for Lamar because what
Yeah.
Greg
I
Roman's
almost
been
think the
doing
same thing.
hasn't been working. And like it's time they need to get some skill players. They need to get something new going.
Which, yeah, I
Um,
think is a big reason why they fired him to try to get a big time wide receiver in there.
yeah,
And it
and
just
if you are Baltimore and you let Lamar go, shame on you. Like the absolute
at the
insanity.
very least, he's traded. There's no
You have to
way
trade him.
in anything that you need to let. Is he a free agent, like unrestricted free agent right now, or is he like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll tag him, but yeah,
yeah,
he just
yeah,
has
that's gonna be
yeah.
a I can't wait to see that. But there just so happens to potentially be a big name wide receiver on the market. D Hop himself, DeAndre Hopkins, is rumored to be dealt by the Cardinals this year. I think the Ravens should go hard after D Hop, man.
I mean, he's
And
old, but he's still good.
I think D Hop's going to have a big market this offseason between the Ravens. I think the Jaguars should be inquiring about D Hop.
With Calvin
Um,
Ridley coming back, really?
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying they had probably paying so many receivers. Get
No, you're
another
right,
receiver.
but you're not paying Trevor though. Like you're not paying a big
It's
salaried,
true. Yeah,
so like if you can get,
it's probably
there's nothing against Zay Jones, but give me D Hop, Calvin Ridley, and Christian Kirk in the slot. Now you're talking about a legit offense.
ridiculous. Yeah, that's good. That's
And if
really
you
good
bring
stuff.
Zay, like they're going to run four wide a lot of the time. I know Evan Ingram spends a lot of the time on the field, so he's like a glorified wide receiver. But like when you go 4 or 5 wide, like then Zay comes on the field, then you're talking about like an unguardable offense. So I think Jacksonville, Baltimore, both teams that should be inquiring about them. Um,
I would like my Giants to pick up the phone.
yeah, Giants are
I
another
really
team.
would need
Try
a
to help
receiver.
Danny out. He's going to have a market, which may drive the price up and scare Baltimore away because they hate doing that kind of stuff. But we'll see. I'm amped up. I thought that was a big piece of news that came out today about Greg Roman. So I wasn't really
Yeah,
quite sure what to make of it. I kind of thought that meant that Lamar would be more likely to leave, but a lot of people are kind of thinking that, wide receivers absolutely hate Greg Roman. So, they weren't they weren't gonna
Yeah,
they weren't
coming
gonna
playing
jump
that
up
offense.
there. So next piece of news I got here is the Bucks. The Buccaneers fired offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich amongst a multitude of different changes there. Does that
Hmm.
mean first off, you think Tom Brady comes back next year? And then number two, if he
He
does,
shouldn't.
where I feel the same way. I feel like, dude, you gotta hang it up. At some
It was
point,
on Monday night. He looked 45, no
yeah.
doubt about it. He didn't want to get hit. He just didn't have it, and it only was that one night, and we'll forget about that one night. But what you don't want to do is come back and play next year and look like that for a whole season, and then we
Yeah.
got to really remember that.
I think
Like
he should have just went out last year, make
he
it
should
deep
have
in the
just went out
playoffs,
last
get
year.
hit with a great team on a great play, make a comeback on the defending champs, like or on the champs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I definitely don't think he should play football next year. Will he? I don't know. He really might. I don't know.
yeah. I think he's a Raider next year.
I hate that.
Derek
But
Carr's like already gone, which I have no idea why Derek Carr's gone already.
yeah, it
I
was.
think Derek Carr's
That's another
fine.
thing.
But I think Brady is going to come back. He's out. Like, there's no way he's going to stay. He's going to stay,
Not with the Bucks. Yeah,
especially once
that
Byron
roster's not
Leftwich
good
left.
anymore.
Like, he's got no connection there anyway. So I think Raiders are an option. I would have said the Niners before Brock Purdy kind of became this thing, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them bringing in Brady and hoping for the best there. So yeah, I think it's either Raiders or retire. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tough scene for Tom. I think he should just hang him up and take that
He's
400
gotta let
million
it
from
go.
Fox and
Yeah, and do what he does.
go stand in the booth, dude. Get some makeup on, stand in the booth, make $300 million. Like,
He'll still give you Gillette commercials. It's gonna be all right. Like
he'll still be on
it's
TV.
yeah, it will be okay.
um, next piece of news I got here is on my Denver Broncos. After I planted my flag on them in the preseason, Sean Payton is rumored to be the front runner and is rumored to be pretty much not the next head coach yet, but is pretty much going to be seriously considered. He's seriously considering it. Russell Wilson is already talking to Sean Payton, trying to get him there. Here's a question: do we buy back in if Sean Payton goes to Denver? Because I was all the way, and I had him Super
I know. I
Bowl
was too.
champs on this show,
Oh
and
wow, I didn't know that.
I
That
had
you were
Denver.
in.
Listen to this: I had Denver versus the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Yuck.
Talk about
Oh,
just the worst prediction you could have ever come up with. Anyway, does Sean Payton buy you back? Because everything's still there that you love. Defense, phenomenal. Javonte Williams coming off injury, you don't love it as much. I love Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. I'm sorry. I
I
know they
like the
sucked this
receivers
year.
too.
I love this. Greg Dulcich, fine tight end. Does Sean Payton fix Russell Wilson? And that is the question. And I don't know if
I
there's a
don't know
true
if he does.
answer.
I really don't know if he does. It's crazy. But I mean, if you're a Broncos fan, you got to pray that he does.
Yeah.
Like, but no, I
Because there's
don't
no
know.
getting out.
There's no getting out. You don't have a first round pick until the cows come home. It's like you're.
Well, they traded Bradley Chubb and they got a
Oh,
first round pick
They
back
did
in
get
the
a first back.
offseason, but you're gonna have to trade that for Sean Payton. So that's where it comes down to.
Wow.
That's where then you're back to square one. But people seem to believe Sean Payton's that kind of coach, and I tend to side on that side as well.
He's an
You know,
offensive court. He's an offensive coach, and everyone says the quarterback's broke. So it makes sense.
and the
The
defense
hire
is
makes
not the
sense.
problem.
It's not the problem.
Absolutely at all. They were absolutely. I saw a stat. It was like if they gave up 18 points a game, or if they scored at least 18 points a game, they would have had 13 wins.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Like,
saying.
come on,
They had
dude.
so
What
many
did?
games if they scored two touchdowns, they would have won.
Yeah.
Like, like they was losing, and the other team was scoring 9 points at times. Like it was not a good display.
It was absolutely atrocious. But yeah, that's pretty much all the big news I saw come out. Real quick, I already kind of touched on it. Derek Carr. I was going to ask you when we were talking about Daniel Jones if you would pay him Derek Carr type money, and then we got to this point, and I'm thinking, do you just go out and get Derek Carr, or is it too
Absolutely
much of a
not.
lateral move,
Um,
or
I think
just
Derek Carr
heads
might
up, who's better?
overall be. See, here's the thing, right? I think it's really close, and Dan's legs work.
Dan's legs work, but Derek definitely can sling the ball.
He can, but also like Daniel Jones, he's got a history turning it over. I mean, he just had who I think is probably the best receiver in the league and had a good year, but he lost his job. Like
Yeah,
I'm good. Like if you're giving me the option between the two, give me Daniel Jones.
just
Yeah,
bring Danny
I
back.
would.
Yeah,
Yeah, to let him go and let him go somewhere else to get someone that I think is probably the same ability overall, but 5 or 6 years older. Like, why would I do that?
yeah, that's true. I
Yeah,
just thought it was so weird how they just like he was. I thought he was like fine this year. Like they had
he's all right.
they had so many games that were like could have gone either way,
He
and
did have some really atrocious ones, though.
oh yeah, 100% had some. He's not that guy, but he's fine. I think he's fine.
He's
Just
a
the fact,
starting quarterback.
yeah, yeah, he's definitely starting quarterback in this league. And you bring in Josh McDaniels, traditionally a pretty complex offensive system. Like I feel like you give the guy at least one more than 1 year to get everything together. But then again, Josh Jacobs leads the league in rushing. Devontae Adams sets franchise records across the board, and you're what 6-12, 6 and
Yeah.
11, 6-11. That's where I guess you come back and you're like, you don't really
Something's got
want,
to change, and they weren't going to fire the coach.
yeah, yeah. So that's gonna be an interesting kind of storyline to play out as the offseason concludes. So that's gonna kind of wrap up our NFL talk for the show. I was gonna ask you about your Reds and see where your mind is with the title race. If you wanted to talk a little, if you want to talk a little Premier League at the end of the show, I haven't really talked too much on the show. I don't have too many guests on that
Oh man,
are on the Premier League, but you obviously big Manchester United fan. How you
yeah.
feeling over there, big dog? Tough little draw this last weekend.
I mean, we great win. We won the Derby in the first time, and I don't know how long. Shoot, and this week, this Sunday, man, we got to win it. The
Yeah, no
Arsenal
Casemiro though, right?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. But as long as they don't put McFred out there, I'm gonna be okay.
As long as they don't put McFred. Yeah, it's gonna be
Saying
that's
you can give me McTominay or Fred, but don't give me both of them. I can't do it.
yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm amped up. The
Yeah,
whole
it'll
day
be
should
good.
the whole day should be a lot of fun. Obviously, Chelsea and Liverpool in the battle of the midway there. Two of the
Also, also really quickly, did you see today's Tottenham City game?
yeah. I was how
Like
great. That's what I'm
what?
saying. I saw Tottenham go up quick 2-0, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, the race is going to get interesting. Arsenal might pull ahead way out now, and then
Yeah,
they just
Tottenham goes up 2-0. I'm like, great. Let me throw an episode of Law and Order. Ends turn it back on, and City's up 3-2. I'm like, what has happened? And then they
yeah.
put another one in.
I saw the two goals. They tied it up, and then I turned it off, and I got the two updates. They scored again. I was like, "Geez, Mahrez is ridiculous." Like, I don't really, I feel like no one really
People
talks about
sleep.
him, but he is a beast, dude. Like,
Riyad Mahrez is nice.
he absolutely torments Chelsea, and every time he's in is just an absolute stud. Um, Obviously Holland's a stud too, so we don't even really have to get into
And
that.
Chelsea has a fun game on Saturday.
A lot of fun. How about our hijack for
Uh,
Murdick? I'm
yeah,
ready to
we'll see.
go.
We'll see.
I think he's going to be a big thing. I just love how my boy Todd Bowley is just spending. He doesn't care about no rules.
He's
No,
acting like an American. He's
I
acting like
love
an
it.
American
He's
right
like, this is
now.
just like baseball. No salary cap. Let's do it. No luxury
Yeah.
tax. Let's do it. And he's going all out. They signed some guy from PSV today, Nani.
Hmm.
I don't even know who his name is, but apparently he's a stud. Gets the job done. Left or a right winger, I think. So
Yeah.
I'm amped up.
But the thing is, with all that stuff,
I just wish
yeah,
Zhao
I don't
Felix
know.
knew how to tackle. That's all I wish.
You'll come to realize why a lot of people do not like João Felix. Like he's definitely a good player. He's flashy and he creates chances at times.
He's
But
saucy.
man, he's a bonehead, dude. The guy, I don't know what's going on sometimes.
Yeah, he came in there with his foot up like ha
That
was
was
going
so
crazy
bad.
there. But yeah, no, it's gonna be big time news. They got to get a lot of people out too. They got to sell a lot of people. They're bringing in all these guys. They got to get rid of Jorginho's gone. I saw something today that Bayern Munich might be looking at Kai Havertz, which would be
Yeah, he's
phenomenal
out of here.
for like 40
Yeah,
mil. That's fine. Send him out.
Pulisic's probably going.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
there's
my
gonna
boy
be some
Pulisic.
change.
But all that matters is they'll be ready to go. Reece James is back at practice. That's all that matters. But yeah, that'll kind of wrap up our talk. I didn't want to get your see where your head was at with that while I had you on the pod. So but yeah, that'll be a lot of interesting. We'll look forward to the divisional matchup this weekend between the Eagles and the Giants. And that is going to wrap up our show for the day. So thanks for coming back on, Nick. Always appreciated. And you are
My
always
man.
welcome. Welcome back on the show. That's going to wrap it up. I look forward to seeing you guys back here again next time.